Oh, hey, look at this. Looks like we got ourselves little old Convoy.
How did we get it wrong? Nobody saw it coming.
The small fringe minority holding unacceptable views. The way through this pandemic is by getting everyone vaccinated. The small fringe minority of people who are on their way to Ottawa or who are holding unacceptable views that they're expressing do not represent the views of Canadians.
The cross-Canada protest, known as the Freedom Convoy, the people are traveling across Canada in opposition to a federal vaccine mandate for transport drivers crossing the border.
Some insane amount of people, like 50,000 trucks. Your country's in revolt.
Listen to this, Mr. Trudeau! Listen to it! Did you hear us now? Did you hear us now?
Minutes ago, Prime Minister Justin Trudeau says he's in self-isolation because of a COVID exposure.
Hey Trudeau, let me tell you something. You don't represent the views of Canadians.
The courage that it takes for these truckers to all stand tall together and to drive across Canada to go to Ottawa is massive.
This is a global, international human movement. The whole world is watching because what happens in Canada will ripple to the rest of the world, and now's the time to activate our voices. Now's the time to speak.
And don't come back without the warrant. You can stop a Nazi communist.
How many mistakes are we going to take before my child almost lost her life? Do your job and let me do mine.
We got to remember where we come from and who we are and who fought for us to have this lifestyle. I'm here for my children, my grandchildren, and I'm here for this country.
Shamgar Connor. He has stage 5 kidney failure. He's been on the kidney transplant list for 3 years, and he needs food to survive. But now he is being told that he is no longer eligible to receive a transplant because he is unvaccinated.
The unvaccinated.
Of the unvaccinated.
Our policy is in order to have people active on the transplant list and get a transplant, you need to be fully vaccinated. So you don't want to move forward?
I'd rather die of kidney failure.
It's obviously your choice, but it's not your choice if you want to be active on the list.
Summed it up at the end, not your choice at all.
It's time to start blaming the unvaccinated folks, not the regular folks.
This is becoming a pandemic of the unvaccinated.
From now on, we will end the compulsory use of COVID status certification in England. The government will no longer mandate the wearing of face masks anywhere.
To the hundreds of thousands of people showing up for Freedom Convoy 2022, I've got a simple message for you. You're not a small fringe minority. You are the movement of freedom, the movement of power, the movement of love.
Of the United States has been violated.
Booster shots work. It's time. It's past time.
If you are not vaccinated, you remain at risk.
Israel has one of the highest vaccination rates in the world, with 78% of the adult population fully vaccinated. Despite this, the country is currently witnessing a significant spike in cases. The country's top COVID official admits that authorities mishandled the crisis with regard to inoculating the unvaccinated.
Now's the time to say no more so that way we can come back to being in our sovereign, God-given rights.
I'm exempt, so I don't need a mask. He's telling me so mind your business, yes? So under arrest for wearing a mask. Have you heard of that?
These are laws. These are not constitutional laws on any human being. You either know what charge you're going to be filing or there is no charge. You guys are awful. Awful. Turning on your own citizens. come in trying to take people's livelihoods to make a living. Get the f*** out and don't come back.
Remember this. Some heroes wear capes. And some heroes drive trucks. You've got my full love and support here from sunny Arizona. I'm a freedom fighter right there with you.
I stand for freedom and I stand with the truckers' convoy. Let's go. Let's fucking go, Canada.
Show up big. Ottawa, Canada needs you.
I just want to send my gratitude and my support to the Freedom Convoy and their mission to end the mandates.
Thank you.
Thank you for standing up for our rights, for everyone's rights. I gotta say, I have never been more proud to be Canadian.
There's a level of admiration I actually have for China because their basic dictatorship. Regardless of the fact that we are attacking your fundamental rights or limiting your fundamental rights, and the Charter says that's wrong, we're still going to go ahead and do it.
We stayed focused on following the science, on promoting public health rules, and Canadians stepped up in their communities. They stepped up for their frontline health workers. They stepped up for each other, and Canada has never been so strong and together as we are now.
First of all, like everybody else, thank you very much for coming out in such large numbers today. We have to send a very clear and unmistakable message to every leader in Canada, all 14 governments, that we will not stand to see our freedoms taken away. We will not stand by, and just because you remove the mandates, it's all over. It's just beginning, because we want those rights and freedoms reestablished in our Charter of Rights and Freedoms, because they're sacred and permanent for all of Canada. Our Charter of Rights and Freedoms is not a federal law. Our Charter on Rights and Freedoms is not a provincial law. It's not a municipal law. It's a national law. When anybody talks to you about a federal law or a provincial law or a municipal law, you respond to say, that is very secondary to my Charter of Rights and Freedoms, which is a sacred national law of my country. We never fought for 114 years to get a written Charter of Rights and Freedoms to have it torn up in 40. Yesterday afternoon, I got an email from the people in Ottawa. We chartered a plane, and we're going to pick you up in Victoria and take you to Ottawa for the rally that's going on there. And I had to go back and say to them, one of the reasons why a lot of Canadians still listen to what I have to say is because I keep my word, and my word was to be here in Victoria today. And Canadians in Terrace, and Canadians in Souk, and Canadians in Duncan, and Canadians in Port Hardy, and Canadians all over Vancouver Island, British Columbia, are Canadians just as much as anybody in any other part of the country. We are all Canadians, and we all come under that sacred Charter of Rights and Freedoms. And I've been arguing about this now for about a year and a half, on my blog, in public meetings, on Zoom, and all the rest of it. But about a week or so ago, my wife and I sat down, and we're sitting down all the time talking about this and how unbelievable it all is. What else can I do? And so I laid a lawsuit against the federal government. And I've assembled a good team of lawyers, some with most of them is led by the Justice Center for Constitutional Freedoms, but they've also brought in people from outside. So I have a good team of 6 lawyers, and we're going to fight this all the way. I guess there was a lot of people around who thought that all the people who were at that conference in '81 were dead. They forgot there was just still one guy standing. There's just still one guy standing, and I'm not standing alone. And as time goes on and people begin to understand the message is simple, that you don't have to take away my rights and my freedoms to defend the health care of this country. They have tried to put them together. But we're smart enough to know that they're not going to succeed on putting those together. The science is clear that this could have been handled in a much more manageable and humane manner than it's been handled today. I have had the luxury over the last several weeks, and 2 or 3 months now, to chair a national organization called Taking Back Our Freedoms. It's just getting started. But if you go in on their website, takingbackourfreedoms.ca, you will see on this board are all the top scientists in Canada, including the lady, Panessa, who spoke here earlier. All of the top scientists are on the board, national and international scientists who've done research on pandemics and research upon viruses, and who can tell you clearly that the science is on our side. But more than that, freedom and liberty is on our side. And we're not going to allow this nation on the northern part of North America to go down the drain because we have people who've gotten hungry for power and have discarded the individual freedoms that you and I own.
The one thing I shall say about those big bad truckers is there's one thing I'll say about that trucker convoy. It's
I couldn't imagine anybody who could represent more the world which will come out of this fourth industrial revolution. It will be a young world. It will be a digital world. Now, who could represent such a world better than you, Prime Minister? We are very glad that at the beginning of this meeting, you are talking to us to represent also a new, open Canada. I want to use this opportunity also to thank our Canadian constituency, which always has been a very loyal and very much engaged constituency here at the Forum. But now, I think with you, together with our constituents, Prime Minister, we can make sure that in the future, we strengthen the cooperation even more with your country. Prime Minister, we are very much looking forward to listen to you. Thank you very much. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Professor Schwab, for your warm welcome and for bringing this impressive group together. Today, we are gathered here to contemplate whether we are in the stages of the fourth industrial revolution about to begin. What a breathtaking possibility that is. The one thing certain about the next industrial revolution is, like the three that preceded it, it will bring enormous change. And if you are looking for a country that has the diversity, the resilience, the positivity, and mostly the confidence that will not just manage this change, but take advantage of it, there has never been a better time to look to Canada.
It's that there. It's that there. Ah, stop it. It's that. This trucker convoy is... a tiny fringe minority. Ugh.
We are at war. We are at war for our family, our children, our lives. The 14th Amendment gives us due process. It guarantees us equal protection under the laws. So why in the world are the unvaccinated being treated differently than the vaccinated? It is the new segregation. It is the new discrimination. And we have to stop it. Government for the people, by the people, will not be destroyed. The founding fathers of this country understood that there's going to come a point in time where the federal government will need to be checked. If not, they will become tyrants. And that is what's happening now. So, the Declaration of Independence says that everyone, by virtue of being a human being, has the right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. The federal government, too, their purpose is to protect the rights of those citizens, the rights of us to our life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness. The third point of that document is, if they fail to protect its citizens and enforce those rights, the citizens have a right to revolt. Do you understand? We have a right to resist, and we have an obligation and a duty to do so. Do you understand? Do you understand when it says a duty to step between a tyrannical government and its laws? They are coming for our children. We cannot sit down. Every great leader knows, every one of them, even the bad ones know, that if you want to affect the country, you go for its children. When in the world do we start using children as bulletproof vests for us? When in the world do we start testing things on children? It comes to us first. And when you come for our children, you have started a war. And they have declared war, and we are answering to that war. We are magistrates, and I need you, each one, reach one, and teach one. Do you understand? As a magistrate in this country, the United States government, our local leaders have to answer to us. The 9th Amendment says that any rights that are not enumerated in the Constitution are reserved for the people. So I don't want to hear that mandates are not enumerated in the Constitution, because for the fact that it's not enumerated means that that authority and those rights goes to us. And so every one of these mandates are illegal. Every single one of them. Under that 14th Amendment, due process and right to equal protection is the right to protect my body. When you want to push something into my body against my consent, without my consent, it is rape. And this is medical rape. When you want to take my children into a room and give them a Snicker bar and some damn fries and talk about come get this vaccine, it is tantamount to kidnapping. That's what it is. You don't have control of my children. You don't have control of me. They shut our doors and try to give us God Fauci. To hell with Fauci. The churches are surrendering their pulpits to the demonic Hako. I'm not coming to your church. You're not getting my tithes. Are you crazy?
And I have to say, when I mention now names like Mrs. Merkel, even Vladimir Putin and so on, they all have been young global leaders of the World Economic Forum. But what we are very proud of now, the young generation, like Prime Minister Trudeau, President of Argentina and so on, that we penetrate the cabinets. So yesterday I was at a reception for Prime Minister Trudeau, and I know that half of this cabinet, or even more half of this cabinet, are actually young global leaders of the World Economic Forum.
And that's true in Argentina too. Wow.
Yeah.
Sorry. That's true in Argentina as well.
It's true in Argentina, and it's true in France now. I'm with the president, who is a young global leader. But what is important for me
of our country has completely changed. Before I can even begin, I have to start by, number one, thanking our truckers. Not enough can be said for these frontline warriors that took it upon themselves to be the first group in Canada to stand in united non-compliance. And before I can go any further, I want you all to thank yourselves for being here, because without you supporting this movement, supporting the truckers, supporting everyone who's been fighting since day one, we would not be here. We would not have this movement. We would not have this power. So thank you, Canada, from the bottom of my heart. What we're doing here today will go down in history as one of the most significant moments in solidarity in human history. For nearly 2 years, I've been doing every single thing in my power, and so have many others, to try to achieve what people thought could not happen. The people coming together, despite of all the ways they try to divide us, despite of all the lies and propaganda, we stand united, we stand strong, and Canada is now the beacon of light and hope and freedom for the entire world! Oh! Let's go! Who around the world would think that the docile, the friendly, the nice Canadians would be the ones to stick their feet into the sand and say enough is enough. It's time to take our country back. And our voice has reverberated so far around the world. You see convoys in Australia bearing Canadian flags. You see trucks in the Netherlands bearing Canadian flags. You see the people of Brazil screaming, "Go Canada!"
Look, son, it's one of nature's most beautiful sights, the convoy!
They didn't just show up. They drove all across Canada in an enormous convoy with every single overpass packed with people. It presented an opportunity for people to come together and realize that they are not alone. And a number of people, of my friends, who have said to me that I'm not afraid anymore because I see all of the people, like, you know, we are awakened to this.
Small fringe minority of people who are on their way to Ottawa or who are holding unacceptable views that they're expressing do not represent the views of Canadians who have been there for each other, who know that following the science and stepping up to protect each other is the best way to continue to ensure our freedoms, our rights, our values as a country. We are not intimidated by those who hurl insults and abuse at small business workers and steal food from the homeless. We won't give in to those who fly racist flags. We won't cave to those who engage in vandalism or dishonor the memory of our veterans. So to those responsible for this behavior, it needs to stop. There's a level of admiration I actually have for China because their basic dictatorship, regardless of the fact that we are attacking your fundamental rights or limiting your fundamental rights, and the Charter says that's wrong, we're still going to go ahead and do with it.
Well, I'd like to say that, you know, what's taking place in Canada is we've seen 2 years of fear and oppression and watching our rights and our fundamental rights be taken away through a highly coordinated, sophisticated media campaign brought to us by the corporatocracy, using fear as a means to control people, presenting hope as the idea of this fake vaccine is going to be the solution. And, you know, enough is enough. Many Canadians succumb to it, and they watch their rights and freedoms continue to be pressed and stressed. And now, you know, they've awoke the truckers, and the truckers represent a spearhead that Canadians are uniting under, just like the mass psychosis where, you know, people were lost and didn't know where to go and have been channeling their hate towards, you know, the unvaccinated. The same thing is happening here with people haven't had any path forward or any hope. And in Canada, too, I mean, it's been, you know, there's been a lack of human connection and love and basic humanity. People have been demoralized. But now there's this great occurrence that's happened where Canadians of all backgrounds are coming together with one word in mind, and that word is freedom. And what's taking place in Ottawa right now is truly incredible. I heard those words that, you know, Justin was saying, and they do not reflect what's actually going on the ground. With our show, the Love and Freedom Show, we've been live streaming and talking to truckers and going out in the streets and interviewing people. And it's more like, I don't know, it's like almost like a festival. I'd say I kind of call it Freezing Man, because it's like Burning Man North. People are working together. It's super clean. The vibration is high. And there's a clear message that is love and freedom and unity. It's non-violent. There are provocateurs who are trying to encourage violence and encourage, negative behavior. But this group is really well-grounded and passionate about freedom, and they're not, and the whole world is watching, and I feel like this is a major happening. And I'm grateful, and I feel a personal duty to speak out and stand up for Canadians. And
measure of a society, of a just society, is not whether we stand up for people's rights when it's easy or popular to do so. It's whether we recognize rights when it's difficult, when it's unpopular. We are a society that stands up for people's rights, and when governments fail to respect people's rights, we all end up paying. I think that is the lesson that hopefully future governments will draw from this settlement.
You're a f***ing idiot.
Justin Trudeau. What? You're laughing, but Justin Trudeau, I mean, I thought he was kind of a cool guy. But I started to read what he said. This is a couple of weeks ago. He was, or maybe this is September, but he was talking about people who are not vaccinated. He said they don't believe in science. They're often misogynistic, often racist. No, they're not.
That was not smart of him at all.
Right. He said, but they take up space. And with that, we have to make a choice in terms of a leader as a country. Do we tolerate these people? It's like, tolerate them. Now you do sound like Hitler.
That was...
and recently he talked about them holding unacceptable views.
Wow. I'm surprised to hear that Trudeau said those things.
You didn't see the blackface? I mean, he's no, I'm kidding about that. I'm not, I mean, that was not a good look for him.
No,
but, I mean, come on. I mean, that's, I think, what gets under people's skin.
Joanna, open your shirt. Pull it open.
What's your message to Canadians right now?
We need a new Prime Minister.
I don't believe that fines or arrestations is going to stop anyone from coming here. We are a peaceful bunch. I don't believe the police are even going to make a move on this. They want those powers. They want to arrest people. It's not going to happen. The police is not going to come here and arrest people when there's children here, there's the elderly, there's people of all nationalities. It just doesn't make any sense. We're here for one reason. We're here to end mandates, and we want to do it peacefully. We're not here to cause any problems, so there's no reason why a problem should be caused on us.
Freedom over fear! We want no cure, no mask!
There's a state of emergency. I'm like wondering where this emergency is. I see love and freedom and unity. That's all I see here. I don't see an emergency.
Hug your neighbor! It's a super spreader event!
I'm in it for the long haul. Like, I'll be back next weekend. I'll be back the next weekend. I'll be back in July. It'll be nice weather. I'll be camping out on Parliament Hill.
Join your brothers and sisters in front of the Parliament and show them what we're here for.
We don't care about the states of emergency. They can throw anything at us. We won't move an inch. We are here for change. We are here to be listened. Until it won't change, we won't move. You can throw the army at us, we won't move an inch. We're proud Canadians. We're here for our future, the future of this country and our kids.
I believe in freedom of choice. If somebody wants to get their 17th booster, please go ahead, do it. That's 100% your choice. But for me, I believe in choosing for myself. I'm not an anti-vaxxer by any means. I believe in vaccines. I have multiple vaccines. I travel, so I have vaccines that other people don't have. I just don't believe in the science of this one. I think I need a little bit more time to make an educated decision on it.
Our target is to remove these mandates and to let us live free. I'm a Canadian that can't even leave this country. And this to me is ridiculous. I don't agree with it. It's been 2 years now. I'm gonna fight this until the end. And when I say fight, I mean stand up for peace and for the governments to remove these mandates. That's what's important to us.
This is the story of how elite liberal insiders are getting richer, while ordinary Canadians get poorer. Here's how it's happening, and how they're trying to hide it. When Canada first encountered the COVID-19 virus, there was a concern around our supply of ventilators. Luckily, Justin Trudeau had an idea. He gave $237 million of our tax dollars to Baylis Medical Company, Inc., owned by Frank Baylis. Who is Frank Baylis? Frank Baylis is a former Liberal MP and elite friend of Justin Trudeau. You see, Canada has lobbying laws, which prohibit MPs from lobbying the government for 5 years after leaving office. This means Trudeau couldn't directly hand our tax dollars to his friend Baylis. But that didn't stop the government from quickly awarding the contract to Baylis in spite of Canada's lobbying laws. The cherry on top, Trudeau seemingly overpaid for each ventilator by $10,000, or $100 million overall. Justin Trudeau, of course, denies that he knew anything about the government giving $250 million to a former Liberal MP. But internal documents say otherwise. Here you can see an email thread from Trudeau's staff. They name Baylis directly and celebrate him getting approved. How did Trudeau's team directly name Baylis if they had no idea he was later involved? While these liberal elites get richer, ordinary Canadians are getting poorer. Canada has been taking on some of the highest levels of debt on the entire planet, but we still have the highest unemployment rate in the G7. Justin Trudeau thinks we are stupid. He thinks we are going to keep putting up with this corruption. The only reason corruption like this is allowed to continue is because the media is keeping voters in the dark. We need your help to show voters what is really going on with this government. So like, comment, and share this video with your friends and family, because the future of our country is in your hands.
All the days after, freedom for all of us! Thank you!
Minister is double vaccinated, had his booster, and just contracted COVID-19. So using mandates to discriminate against Canadians based on their vaccine status is absolutely punitive and discriminatory. A senior Liberal called on the Prime Minister to stop dividing Canadians on the issue of vaccine status.
All right, guys, I don't have a lot of time, but I need to tell you something. Everyone needs to know. You see all these cases? They all got tablets in them, and every single one of these tablets has all of our information in them. Every single person that got the vaccine, your data is stored in these tablets, and they will control you. Stay woke.
We're talking about improving biology and redesigning organisms for beneficial purposes. It's going to allow us to not just edit genomes, but also, and importantly, write a new code for life. We'll have right-level permissions. We already started to see some of that this year. COVID-19 vaccines, they make use of engineered code in the form of messenger RNA.
Some of those recommendations included things that the government could change now. For instance, the differential age of consent when it comes to anal sex versus vaginal sex.
Yeah.
Is that something that the government?
Yeah, that's something that we're very much looking forward to moving on in short order.
Mm-hmm.
The government announced today it is repealing what it calls an outdated law, a section of the criminal code that makes it illegal for anyone under 18 to have anal intercourse unless they are husband and wife, even though age of consent in Canada is 16.
The proposed amendment would ensure that in law all forms of consensual sexual activity are treated the same.
The minister says 69 charges were laid under that section of the law in 2014-15, though none led to convictions.
We have, if I look at our stakeholders, we have business, of course, as a very important audience, and we have politics, we have continuous partnerships with many governments around the world, and of course we have NGOs, we have trade unions, we have all those different parts. Media, of course. Media, of course, and very important experts and scientists and academia. Because if we are looking at the future, I think we should look at new solutions, and the new solutions will be very much driven by technological developments.
And we even have, you even have religious leaders, right?
We have religious leaders, we have social entrepreneurs, very important social entrepreneurs.